to the regular meeting of Brisbane Planning Commission Thursday, March 26, 2015. We have covered
Commissioner Parker.
Here.
Commissioner Munir. Here. And Commissioner Dahl.
Present.
No, for the record that Commissioner Reinhardt is absent.
Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I motion the agenda of Thursday, March 26th, 2015.
All in favor?
Aye.
So before we move on to the consent calendar, are there any items that either the commission or the public or the staff would like to remove before we make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
No, I want to discuss that.
Discuss the consent calendar, right?
Yes, for the
That's for the draft action minutes, so we just have to make a motion.
But I want to discuss
Okay.
So which part of the minutes?
the minutes.
Okay, which
Under G workshop, there were some themes, but there were also some themes where people felt that they didn't want to have the short-term vacation rentals in Brisbane. Should we include those as well? Their reasoning behind that? I found this very helpful, but I also know that some people did not.
Through the chair, so these are action minutes, so they're very abbreviated. If you want to expand them slightly, if you have, it would be, I guess at your discretion if you would like to send these back for a little more detail. But generally, we haven't been putting that much
Right,
detail
that's
in
true.
these.
What you can do is, Mr. Parker, if you want to add something to this write-up for the regular meeting, you can submit that to the staff, and we can postpone that until the next meeting.
All I was going to say is that if we're putting down the themes, we should also put that some of the people were against having the short-term vacation rentals.
Yeah, I think
Period.
I agree with you that there should be both sides of that
Yeah.
should be represented.
So I don't think we need to be more specific than that.
So you can vote to have staff make that amendment and accept these then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that was one of the main themes as well. I mean, it's implied here, but I think explicitly stated would make it extremely clear.
Okay.
In addition to that, I think in that following paragraph, for consistency's sake, it should be chairperson, because that's the first time we use chair there alone.
Mm-hmm.
Any other edits or modifications?
No, that's fine for me.
Okay, so you know what we're going to add to this? So do we need a specific language here now, or what? Or we just direct the staff to come up with that?
I
Just
think
some
we
of-
have. I think we have the gist, and we can
Yeah,
capture
okay.
your
So-
intent here.
So I guess we have to make a motion for that.
Okay, I motion with amendment to approve the action minutes of March 12th, 2015.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So on to oral communications. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission on an issue that is not currently on the agenda? No? Okay. So should we go on to written communications? I currently have nothing for
Nothing.
written communications. Is there anything?
That's correct. No mail.
Okay, great. Thank you. So on to new business. Public hearing, 601 Tunnel Avenue, interim use permit UP-1-15. Interim use permit to replace 2 existing office trailers and portions of a hardware shed building totaling 3,450 square feet with 1 new modular administrative office building totaling 5,000 square feet at the Sierra Point Lumber Facility. Golden State Lumber applicant, Brisbane Properties owner, APN 005-250-020, and that includes a large set of plans. Staff?
Thank you. This interim use permit request is to allow Sierra Point Lumber to replace 2 office trailers and portions of a hardware shed, which totals approximately 3,400 square feet, with 1 new modular administrative office building, and that would total 5,000 square feet. The new building would be in front of Sierra Point Lumber's main retail hardware shed towards the rear of the site. This is in the same general area as the structures to be removed, and that's shown. I'll show that on the 2 images here. So in the center of the screen in blue, you have the existing structures. And then the next slide in what looks like brown is the proposed structure. Sierra Point Lumber was granted a use permit in 1980 for the use of the site as a lumber yard. This was prior to the current regulations requiring an interim use permit for uses on the Baylands. Since the proposed modular building was not contemplated in the original use permit and the proposal would result in an expansion of the building floor area at the site, an interim use permit is now required. Note that the applicant has indicated that the proposal is not to intensify the use of the site, but rather to more efficiently accommodate the existing use and to provide for administrative offices within a single building instead of spread out over different buildings. The municipal code includes specific findings for an interim use permit, which this application meets, and that's detailed in the agenda report. A couple of key findings to highlight. First is that the proposed interim use will not be detrimental or injurious to the public or other improvements in the vicinity. Sierra Point Lumber has had a good history with the city, and the replacement of the existing structures with the new modular building is not expected to represent an increase in intensity in the use of this lumber yard or traffic to and from it. Adjacent and nearby uses in this area include vacant lands and heavy commercial uses, with Tunnel Avenue and the Caltrain rail lines running north-south. Those lie immediately to the west of the subject property. The proposal is in keeping with these surrounding uses. As indicated in the conditions of approval, a building permit will be required for this use, which will require review by both the city and the county Environmental Health Division, since this site is located on the landfill. And these departments and the county was already provided with this application packet and has provided their comments on a preliminary basis, but more will be forthcoming as they get the details in the building permit. Another finding to highlight is that the use is to provide a benefit to the public, such as the creation of jobs or revenues or the provision of needed goods or services. Sierra Point Lumber provides services and materials to the local building community and has historically been one of Brisbane's major retailers, so they play a key role in the local economy. In closing, staff recommends conditional approval of use permit UP 115, the adoption of the resolution containing the findings and conditions of approval.
Any questions for the staff?
I have no questions.
No questions?
Shall we open it to the public? Would anyone in the audience like to address this issue or talk about it?
Maybe we can hear from the applicant.
It would be nice to hear from the applicant if the applicant is here. Sorry, could you speak into the mic? We can't hear you.
Ken Lederker, I'm with MBH Architects. Okay. I was asked by the applicant to prepare drawings for this meeting and to try and create mobiles that didn't look like mobiles. So I'll show you where we are.
Okay.
I'm going to put them up on this board.
So what function do you serve?
Sorry,
So what function do you serve for the applicant?
we're the architect.
Okay, thank you.
So I think you guys are familiar with the site. Here is Tunnel Avenue. This is where the lumberyard is. The actual mobiles that are existing are way back here off of the
Can we give him the microphone?
Yeah, it's really
Hold
hard
on
to
a
hear,
second.
and the people in
I'll bring you a
the at
microphone.
home are not going to be able to hear you.
Stretch that. I can. Thank you. Thank you. So we're putting the new modulars right on top of the old. This is Tunnel Road. The modulars are far back from Tunnel Road. We're surrounded by other warehouses, and I'll show you the elevations. And the big problem you can see here are the existing ones that we're demoing out. The big problem with modulars, the reason why they look like modulars, is because of the plywood or the T111 that's on the outside. That you can see the gear and the wheels underneath. You have the air conditioners on the outside, and then you have these typical aluminum windows. And so what we did to try and make it look better for the community is we've put skirts on the bottom of the modulars to hide the gear and the wheels. We've done non-standard windows, so it has sort of a more architectural look. We're putting down a vernacular of warehouse metal siding with sort of like a modern twist on it. And so we have these really nice metal panel systems with some accent red, which is one of the applicant's colors. So we're trying to, and we took the air conditioning units and put them on the roof so that you won't see them. Those were the bulk of the things that we did. This is all going to be for employee workstations. Currently, they're in sort of small, substandard workstations, and so the lumberyard wanted to make it better work environment for their employees. And that's everything I can think of, unless you guys have questions for me.
Yeah, the question I have is the actual width of that is increased from the previous one by how much?
So we did go. I think your drawings will show that there's a dash line on here that shows, and then the red line, it's in the neighborhood of 8 feet. We are increasing it from 3,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, the reason I brought this up is I'm regular customer of the
Good.
Sierra Point Lumber, now it's Golden State. And in this area, there is a lot of turnaround and people going to get the lumbers, and you have one side, you have a certain type of lumbers, the other side plywood and all that.
Right.
So I want to make sure that there won't be any impact here in terms of turning around of the trucks and pickups and all that, and was there any consideration was given? And if there is, and then how are you going to change that, the placement of the various lumber piles that you have there?
Right. So we did sit down with Civil and work through truck routing through that zone. We have relocated some of the parking over here, which will require moving some of the wood stacking pieces. But it has all been worked out for traffic and for parking. There is some minor tweaks that we had to do to the site plan to get that to work.
The parking will remain the same as it is now?
No, it will be slightly different, but we do meet the parking count. So we ran the numbers on the parking calculation. We think that you need 57 spaces, and we have at least 57 spaces. And that's also documented in one of those appendixes that are a part of your packet.
Okay, the other question I have is the movement of the forklifts and all that across the tunnel road.
Okay.
That will continue, but again, those people sometimes they encroach into this area when they're trying to turn around. I just want to make sure that safety consideration was given when you designed this, because sometimes I see that people come very close and very little, especially you have those big, trucks that deliver the
big delivery trucks.
Lumber, and when they are in this area, it's very difficult sometimes for people to maneuver in that area. So I think some consideration should be given in the placement of the lumber piles, so that this area here, especially when your parking is on the side, so this area should be fairly, accessible to all the vehicles and should be able to go around. And your entrance is right now meets the standard pretty much, but again, some people get very, your truck is parked in front of that, they go around that.
Right, yeah.
And that can cause problems in the tunnel road also.
And then we also have the parking on Tunnel Road.
Yeah.
So I'm, maybe Seth, you can help me
the
with
tunnel road parking, was it authorized at all, or it is part of the I mean, I seen in the past there was no parking, but recently I've seen quite a few cars and pickups are parked there.
There we go. Approximately 4 years ago, the Planning Commission approved the use permit for across the street, which included
Yes, I remember that.
storage and also parking in that area. They will. It's actually a 5-year clock, so they're planning to come back to you again, as I understand it, to continue that use across the street. But yes, as it is, there is a use permit which allows for both the parking and storage.
Yeah, but what I was talking about is not that one. That one I was familiar. I was on the commission when we approved that. But the one I was talking about is against the fence. I seen they start parking there too. And was that allowed? Because it's right adjacent to the. We don't have a sidewalk, but it's pretty much like a sidewalk. That a lot of people parking over there. So was that agreed to by the city or? I don't think that was a part of the agreement at that time. It was only for the across the street.
Right, and this was routed to the city engineer, public works director for comments. He didn't have any comments on this application. I think that parking in that strip dates back quite a ways, but you're correct. It would be in the public right of way. So if the city engineer had concerns on that.
I just wanted to see if he has looked at it and was there any authorized parking there, because there are people that go on the, sometimes go on the tunnel road, and they a lot of pickups and trucks trying to merge into that from that area. So unless we authorize that, there should be some kind of
I can do is bring this to the city engineer's attention through the building permit process and see if there's any attention that.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. All I'm looking at is the safety of the people using the tunnel road, and especially it's the typical of construction industry is a lot of people that use the trucks and all that. They sometimes can be very careless, as you know. So. It's a tricky situation when you go inside the yard also. Sometimes people don't pay any attention. I use it quite a bit. I mean, I'm your loyal customer, and I'm trying to improve the situation there so that you don't come across any kind of a situation where an accident happen or somebody get hurt or anything. So I think outside the fence area also, we need to control that use. Because many times I've seen so many people stack up on there, and sometimes they encroach into the tunnel road also, from my own observation.
Understood.
So
if that addresses your concern, I'll go ahead and put a note to the city engineer for when this comes up as a building permit.
Yes.
To check that.
And I think I just wanted to bring the attention of the applicant also, because I like to help in a way to improve your operation so that it can be more safe and you don't run into any kind of an accident that can be detrimental to your business or whatever.
Absolutely.
So it's a constructive comment, I hope.
Yes.
It's very,
No, understood.
okay. And I agree with the consolidation of this whole facility, the administrative building at one place, because the way it is now set up, some people are sitting in one corner, the other people are somewhere else, and all of that, and it creates kind of a hodgepodge. So this one is better idea. I think that's and also if you're trying to beautify that, that's even plus. Whatever you can do to improve the temporary, the mobile building, and to make it look like a real building. It'll never be the same, but at least you're trying. Thank you.
Parker,
Thank you.
did you have any questions for the applicant or no?
No, I think I also wanted to comment. I think it's great that you're trying to beautify the building and make it more comfortable for the workers. I think that I hope that really is successful and they feel much more comfortable. Are you planning on increasing the number of workers there, or about the same? Yeah, just make it work better for them. That's great.
Yeah, they will have a little better flow also,
Yeah.
because right now people are, don't know who's where, in different areas sitting there. And one question I have is, you still call it Sierra Point facility, but it's the Golden State Lumber now. So you still...
It's called Golden State Lumber now.
because in the application you mentioned Sierra Point facility and Golden State Lumber.
And that may have been a staff error holding on to the past. So
Yeah, I think to be consistent, maybe we should remove that and just say Golden State Lumber.
I'll make sure that in the findings and conditions that it's all referred to as Golden State. I'll
Yeah,
do that.
because I think they changed the name about a year ago or a year and a half, 2 years ago almost. So I like the Sierra Point Lumber name, but Golden State is okay too, I guess.
More
If
inclusive.
if the applicant doesn't mind, I have a couple of clarifying questions just so I can have a better understanding. So originally, why was this not contemplated? Why was the consolidation not something thought of in the original use permit?
Which use permit?
The original use permit?
Back in 80,
I guess at that time, yeah.
we actually acquired Sierra Point Lumber back in 1998. So the consolidation for this improvement, we've been exploring ideas, and basically, we feel like, it's definitely overdue in the sense of consolidating our employees, but we were just trying to find the right solution on this landfill to be able to put in place.
So you're saying at the time of acquisition, it was too early in the plan in order to even
and
project
then
that far?
Yeah, and then we were going down the road with UPC on actually swapping land. That dragged on for many years. That's been, of course, delayed and probably delayed for a while. Mm-hmm. So, knowing that we will be here for a while, we definitely are looking for improvement, and this is, one of our phases, and, just move along to see how long we'll be here, and, possibly more improvement down the road.
Okay. So I have ideas of my own about the difference in the 1,550 square feet difference. Mm-hmm. And I guess earlier you had mentioned that there will be no additional increase in the number of employees. Is that right?
That's correct. We have hired, we added an employee about 3 weeks ago, mm-hmm. So a window and door salesman. But other than that, there's no intention at this time on adding additional staff. We are making space, and this will give us the ability to have more space, but it's mainly for our employees to give it a better workflow and an improvement for our employees.
So increase space for your current employees.
Yes, that is the goal of this improvement.
So therefore, there's really no true link to the potential benefit of hiring additional employees.
No, we have created space for additional employees, and that is, something we want to have the opportunity to expand upon. We are including about 6 more desks for employees. So at this time, we will, look to expand. We have hired somebody 3 weeks ago in the window and door department. But, at this time, we don't have anybody queued up to hire in the next, couple months. But, we by this, improvement, we want to have the ability over the next couple of years to expand our employee base.
So I'm not sure if this is a question that staff can help me out with or not, but if that is, in fact, the case, then would that not affect the first finding, which is that it is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity, given that the rationale is that it is a continuation of existing use and not an increase in the intensity by the expansion of the 1550 square feet?
I don't see a nominal increase in employment as a expansion really of. I mean, when we're talking about expansion, that would potentially be detrimental. I would look at more of the lumberyard as a whole in terms of its operations, and not necessarily hiring a few more employees. And I guess going down to the other benefit, the finding about creation of jobs, it's jobs or revenues or the provision of needed goods or services. And it's an interesting kind of thing because you already have the use there, and they're providing jobs, they're providing revenues and services. So I don't see a conflict with the findings.
Yeah, our main goal is so our employees aren't, elbow to elbow
No, I
and
understand.
in different modulars, and creating that workflow
Yeah.
in that space for them.
Right, as I was saying earlier, it's more for edification. It's not that I am criticizing that approach at all.
Oh.
Definitely appreciate the fact that I'm sure the employees appreciate the fact that you do
yes,
that, and we certainly appreciate the fact that you do provide current employment for residents. So, in terms of the, again, I'm not sure. Staff, feel free to jump in. But in terms of the part where we're talking about the condition of approval 1, and we're talking about Title 27 requirements, is that something that the Commission should be aware of in terms of how we can get assurances, compliance assurances for subfloor space or possible interior, given that it's a landfill area?
This is really it. I would take it to be similar to trying to dive into the details of the building code, which you don't get into those as well.
That would not be in our purview, correct?
Right. It's really the county is the lead agency since this is a landfill, so the county health division, and so this has already been routed to the county, and they will be looking at the building permit once we go through this stage of the process, and they'll be looking specifically at such things as ventilation of that subfloor area, those sorts of things.
I think the Commission should look at the Title 27 also, because it has to do with the health and safety of the people. And part of the reason we are here is to make sure that the improvement complies with all the applicable laws and all that. And I agree with you, your condition of approval, that they should meet Title 27. And Title 27 is a very crucial, the code that most of the industrial buildings have to satisfy that. So
I would say that this is not the purview of the Planning Commission to get into the details of interpreting Title 27 on a specific project.
we don't get into the detail, but we must make sure that it meets all the applicable code requirements.
It will through the condition of approval. It will through the condition.
So I'm glad you put that in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be here. If it wasn't here, I would have probably asked why not.
I see.
Right. Okay. Because we wouldn't want to duplicate the process that belongs somewhere else, and that would be subsumed in the building permit process that you're referring to.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they have to look at it when they approve the building permit to make sure it meets the Title 27 requirements.
And the enforcer of that would be the city and the county.
That's correct.
Okay. I just, again,
Yep.
clarification questions.
No, I think it's a good question.
Yeah. And I guess with regards to requirement number 3, the proposed interim use will not obstruct, interfere with, or delay the intended redevelopment of the property. That would include unearthing issues, right? Any potential unearthing, quote-unquote, hazards. And I know that the applicant filled out their application and shows that there would be none of that. There would be none of those risks at stake. But I just wanted to make sure that, again, my understanding is correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so that is also subsumed within our requirement analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
answering
I have a
questions.
couple of more questions,
Okay.
if you, through the chair.
Applicant?
For the applicant. You are aware that your property is part of the Bayland development,
Yes,
right?
we do.
And I just want to ask you a question as to how your future plans will be affected by that. You have the approval from the Baylands people that you're going to stay there, or you're going to be moved to a different place, or what? Are you aware of any of that?
Yes, we are. You know, we were working with UPC to move down the street on Tunnel Avenue, about a half a mile. That, you know, that's a long ways away. And, you know, what happens, you know, in the future is still, you know, very much up in the air. We would definitely like to stay in Brisbane. And
We like you to stay in Brisbane, but the thing is that whole process is going to start in about, I guess, end of this year or before that, where we're going to be looking at the EIR and all that. So I strongly recommend that you guys look
Yes.
at it, and I don't know whether they get the copy of the EIR or not.
we
but
do. Yeah.
So
we're
make
in,
sure that your interests are
yes, we're
addressed
definitely in
there.
tune with it. And we have a lot of patience for that. It's been going on for a while. So we just stay in tune as much as we need to be, and we'll, you know, abreast to the changes.
Okay. And the last comment I'm going to make is, if you're going to increase the number of employees, then make sure that you also look at the parking. Existing parking is based on the existing number of employees and your customers' base. But if you're going to increase in another 5 or 10 employees, for example,
Yeah.
then you have to provide that many more parking spaces.
Understood. The goal is not to increase. You know, it's basically to give.
And I think it's a comment to the staff also that if they do increase that, make sure that there is an adequate parking according to the standards we have. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor? Or
Aye.
actually, we need a second.
Second.
I second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I go ahead and start my 2 cents on this. I think the Golden State Lumber is a good applicant, and they have done a lot for the city also, and they're very well known for their integrity in terms of all the customer the customer base has very good things to say about the previously Sierra Point Lumber, now Golden State Lumber. And I think this particular proposal is needed because I've seen myself how difficult it is to find the people all different places. And if the intention is to bring everybody at one place, I think it's very good. So I make a motion to approve the interim use permit UP-1-15.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Keep up
much.
the good work.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you. So items initiated by the staff. Any?
I'll just mention that the housing element will be going to City Council next Thursday. Other than that, I have no other items.
Come on, Ken. You have to have something.
We did want to announce as well that we've extended the survey for the short-term rentals through tomorrow evening. So we had advertised it through the 26th. Now you can submit through the 27th.
Right.
Thank you, Julia.
It's like a tax deadline. Why
an
don't
important
we make
survey,
it
so-
April 14th, April 15th?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
an important survey, so it's worth the extension, I think. Any items initiated by the commission?
I have nothing.
Nothing. The subcommittee reports, but the person in charge is not here. But the question I have is now Commissioner Cunningham is not here, and she was one of the subcommittee, right, member?
For the Green Building Ordinance Subcommittee?
Yeah. So somebody has to replace that.
Not necessarily. So the track that this is on is City Council has a subcommittee for the Green Building Ordinance to look at what was recommended before it goes to the full council.
Yeah.
So that's in the process of being scheduled. And if this goes back then to the Planning Commission and OSEC's subcommittee for further review, at that point, then we'll be looking for another.
Yeah, we should have at least one member on that subcommittee. And what I like to do, and I don't think it's going to go through in the first go around, it's such a big process, the Green Building Ordinance. So in the next meeting or meeting after that, when hopefully we'll be able to get another replacement, so we will have the full 5-member commission. At that point, I think I will suggest that we should appoint one person to be on the subcommittee, and depending what the council does, if the council agrees with all the recommendations made in that, then that person doesn't have to go any further with the subcommittee. But if there are some suggestions or recommendation, it goes back to the subcommittee. I think I like the Planning Commission to be represented.
So that'll be at the Planning Commission's discretion as to whether you
Yes.
want to assign that person sooner or later.
Yeah, I just want to bring it to the chairperson's attention that we may have to do it at some point.
Yeah, probably when we're a full panel again.
Okay. And the last thing I want to mention is that in the past, if the Planning Commissioner has left, resigned or whatever, it was a protocol that we send her some kind of a plaque or something. So I suggest that we do that, and we also have in the past invited for some kind of cake and coffee or something. So depending on the situation when they're going to, and I understand that the council is looking at we have some applicants, some people who showed the interest in that, right?
That's my understanding, and it's going to be it's actually agendized for further discussion with council next week. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah.
But
So I think the next meeting we should have a little thing for Commissioner Cunningham, or ex-Commissioner Cunningham.
we may put this off to a future, but we would definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Or we can do it at the same time, welcoming the new person, and that's possible too. Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming that you will provide a further update at that point, at the next commission meeting, about the decisions or discussion at the city council
Right,
meeting.
we can do that.
That would be great. So
We'll just have that, not agendized, but items initiated by staff.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to read the appeals process. Anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council not later than 15 calendar days, 10 calendar days for subdivision and sign applications after the Commission's action. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the Community Development Department at 415-508-2120. Thank you.
It's a pretty short meeting tonight.
We have.
Do we want to make a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn to the regular meeting of April 9th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m.
I second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Good night.
Good night.
We should keep our meetings like this all the time.
I don't think it's...